I've worked with more than 10 multinational companies, more than 10 companies in general, and more than 2,500 employees from 15 different countries. And this is what I've observed. So I run a corporate training company, and we also do HR consulting and employee engagement. And the good thing, or the very positive privilege that we enjoy from running such a company, is that we have the opportunity to work with a large number of people from different backgrounds. And what I've observed is that personality is very extremely important. And what I mean by that is that everyone needs to understand their own personality. Because if you do not, then it's likely that you will struggle at your work, and you will also make everyone around you struggle. So we have done in the past year more than 60 different corporate training and team building sessions. And we have worked with people from a large number of industries and departments. And what I can promise that I've observed is that we do notice personality differences and patterns across different industries and departments. And this actually is consistent with the research, because psychologists have done observational and personality testings across individuals of different occupations. I believe the most recent one was across 263 occupations with like 63,000 participants. And what they do observe is that people, based on their personality, tend to be drawn to different types of occupations. And this is consistent with what we have observed. So we've worked with people from departments like sales, operations, HR, and the C-suites, in industries like insurance, FMCG, banking, consulting, auditing, you name it, we have worked with them. And what we do observe is that people in the sales department, for example, and I'm speaking averages here, so of course there are nuances and there are exceptions to the rule, but if we're speaking statistics and probabilities, then more often than not, we're speaking averages. So we tend to observe that people from sales departments, they tend to be more extroverted, they tend to be more verbally fluent, they tend to be more assertive and enthusiastic. They also perhaps tend to be more imaginative, and they tend to think out of the box. People from operations, on the other hand, maybe because they don't have to speak with and liaise with stakeholders of a great variety, they tend to be more introverted. They tend to be more obedient as well. They don't tend to question you once you have expressed rules of activities and instructions. They tend to be more conscientious, I have observed, as in when they get started with an activity, they want to make sure that they complete the activity. And interestingly, I've had this experience where I worked with an airline, and on the same day itself, we worked with the pilots and the steward team. And what we observe is that the pilots, they are more mechanical, they are more oriented to things, I would say. They are more obedient as well, whereas the crew members, they tend to be more agreeable, as in they are more compassionate, they are better at managing their impressions, others' impressions of them, so they know to present themselves as warm, as kind, as helpful, and so forth. And I think the implication of that is that if we do not understand our own personality, the likelihood is that we may venture into a line of work, a department, or an industry that is contrary to what we enjoy and does not work in favor of our tendencies. So if you're someone who is super extroverted, for example, and you get into something like a tax department. Now, I'm not saying that extroverted people will not perform well in tax departments. I'm speaking averages here. And you realize that your job does not necessitate you to speak with a lot of people, but you like to speak with people and you draw energy from other people, the likelihood is that you're going to struggle. And the people around you will also struggle, because perhaps in the tax department, everyone expects each other to shut up, but you're the one who is speaking nonstop. On the flip side, or similarly, you may enter a sales department as someone who is introverted and as someone who does not like to liaise with others. And again, I'm not saying that introverted people will struggle at sales. There are many introverted people who actually do well at sales, but again, I'm speaking averages here. Then you may struggle, because you may realize that you have to speak with 10 different clients and stakeholders every day, but you prefer to be on your own. You prefer to work on dashboards, for example, or you prefer to work on balance sheets. I don't know what accountants do, but you prefer to do what accountants do, where they don't have to speak with each other. So that could occur. So the main point is that you want to make sure that you understand your personality. And I think that a good model, or in fact the most validated model that you can use to better understand your personality, is the Big Five personality model. You could do tests online. There are multiple free tests. I think one that's really helpful is the one prepared by Dr. Jordan Peterson. I believe it's called understandmyself.com. Feel free to check it out. Main point is that you should understand your personality, because again, I guess one last finding that I can share is that psychologists actually find that your job preferences tend to remain stable after your mid-20s. I believe specifically 26 or 24. Your job preference at 26 or 24 remains generally stable throughout your lifetime. And notice that I did not say job. I say job or occupational preferences. So it's not like you prefer only being in HR. It's more of your preferences for what composes the job. So if you prefer speaking and liaising with other people, what you may find is that you prefer jobs that will require you to do so. So for example, being in HR, being a teacher, being a nurse, and so forth. Whereas if you prefer to work with things, then perhaps again, you prefer being a data analyst, you prefer being an engineer, you prefer being an accountant, a tax specialist, and so forth. So the main point is that we should understand our own personality. Otherwise, we will struggle, and those around us will also struggle. So always, I hope that you enjoyed the video. I hope that you learned a thing or two. Do subscribe and like, and I'll see you in the next one.